I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Garden City Planning Commission. It's Thursday, June 13th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Our first order of business is pledge allegiance to the flag. If everyone would stand, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Would the secretary take the roll call, please?
Chairperson May,
Here.
Commissioner Steenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Walls, Commissioner Kalidas,
Here.
Commissioner King,
Here.
Commissioner Williams, and Commissioner Bazzi was excused. You have a quorum.
Okay, next we need approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda for tonight.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any comments on the motion? Hearing none, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Kalidas,
Aye.
Commissioner King,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams, Mr. Steenberg,
Aye.
Chairperson May,
Aye.
motion passes.
Next, we have approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of May 9th, 2024.
Make a motion. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Steenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Kalidas,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner King,
Aye.
Chairperson May,
Aye.
motion passes.
Next item is public comment on non-agenda items only. If there's anyone here who wishes to speak on a non-agenda item, they can come up to the podium. Seeing no one, move on to our first business item. That's PPL 23-0030, request for a site plan approval to construct a new apartment building at the northeast corner of Arcola Avenue and Cherry Hill Road in the R3 multiple family residential zoning district. Can we start out with Mr. Ortega's report?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Just wanted to note that right now, it doesn't look like their architect is here. Oh, he is here. Never mind. No, you're fine. I was just going to give you some time. We were going to shift things around, but we'll just continue because you're first up. Last time this was before the Planning Commission was in March of this year, 2024, and you did grant site plan approval for the development of 8 apartments at the site with the building on the east side and a parking lot adjacent to Arcola. This approval was contingent upon the applicant receiving 4 variances for the parking lot, the dumpster, the building setback, and for another issue with regard to the parking for that approval. The applicant did go to the ZBA, but they were denied for the 4 variances. So the applicant has revised the site plan now for 7 apartments with the parking to the east or rear of the building, and then the building being adjacent to Arcola. So based on these plans, now the applicant still would need a variance, but only 1 variance. We talked about this alternative configuration, and the ZBA didn't find that there was a necessary hardship or practical difficulty with regard to all 4 variances. However, so the applicant is taking this approach. So this configuration in front of you would require 1 variance from the front yard setback from Arcola. The building is now located 15 feet from the property line on Arcola, so then this would require a 15-foot variance from the ZBA. The rest of the plans have been revised, and they've dealt with a lot of the other issues. Originally, there were 8 apartments, now there's 7, so it meets the density requirements of the ordinance. All the parking is now located once again to the east of the building, so between the new building and Wendy's, and so therefore it meets the setback requirements and the locational requirements of the parking. And the parking is actually Technically, they require now 17 parking spaces for the 7 apartments, and now they're going to have 20. So they'll have extra parking spaces because of the number of apartments. And then the dumpster is now located in the northeast corner of the site. So to the rear of this building and then the rear of the adjacent residential building to the north. So therefore, it doesn't need a variance for that, and it's in compliance and with our design standards and application. So with regards to those issues then, based on the plans in front of you, there's just one issue I'd like to note that they might want to consider addressing, and then there are 3 outstanding items with regards to the site plan approval. The first being the building design. In my review letter in paragraph B, I just note that we would still recommend that the mass of the building and the uniformity of the east wall and the proposed elevation, there's ways to break that up by incorporating either, different materials. They can even just use different colors of the same materials, or even like a projected column or embedded column that projects out only a small amount to create that vertical element and break up the whole mass of the building. Or even just the same contrasting masonry. Those, to create these, once again, these vertical elements so that where it doesn't look as a large horizontal mass. That's just a suggestion. Technically, we do not have any design requirements for residential structures, for multifamily residential structures, I should say. We do note that the west facade actually has been revised to add a row of windows along the hallways on that elevation. Before, it was completely a solid wall. We just note that also that the east elevation should be facing Arcola Avenue, and just a note adding that. So those are recommendations.
Excuse me, the east elevation should be facing Arcola?
Well, it's noted as the east elevation
it's
on the...
noted wrong on the plan?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that east elevation has to be revised, and maybe it's just simpler to say Arcola elevation and east elevation. But then with regards to other site plan issues, with regards to the landscaping plan has been provided. In paragraph D, I note that there are plantings shown along Arcola, but they appear to be located on the proposed sidewalk. So the plan should just be revised to shift the trees and shrubs into the front yard, into that 15-yard space between the building and the property line. And the landscape plan should also be provided to note the method of irrigation. The applicant needs to provide a photometric plan for the lighting proposed. And then the elevation, when it comes to sidewalks, the elevations do show a front door on the Arcola elevation, on the Arcola side. So we would recommend that there be a sidewalk provided from that front door on Arcola to the sidewalk in the Arcola right-of-way, connecting the building entrance to the adjacent street sidewalk network. So in the end, this proposed development would once again create new and modern 1- and 2-bedroom units in the city, and the plans have been revised from these 4 variances now down to 1. So we would recommend Planning Commission grant site plan approval contingent upon receiving the variance from the ZBA, and then submitting a site plan revision, submitting a revised site plan that would address the landscaping, lighting, and sidewalk issues I've just noted. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any
Just one
questions?
clarification, if I could. So the front yard setback is 15 or 17?
I
It says
thought,
15 in your memo, and it looks like it says 17.
yeah, if it's 17, then that, on sheet SP1, to me, it shows that 15 feet between the, at the northwest corner of the building, near the, that shows 15 right there. And that, oh, yeah. Yeah, I must have pulled up an older file.
Thank you.
Yeah, it should be 17, right? Or it should be 15, okay.
Well, in either case, it's going to require a variance.
Yeah, in either case, it would require a front yard variance,
Yeah.
but we'll clarify that issue for the ZBA, if they get to there, so. Yeah,
How much of a variance do they need for that?
It's required to have 30 feet, is it?
Showing
Correct.
30 feet here.
yeah, it's required as 30 feet, so we'll clarify it, but our architect's saying it should be noted as 15. So the physical prints show 17, but they probably should, but they're supposed to say 15. I don't know how that happened.
Any other questions?
Yeah, it's showing 30 feet as a required dimension, and the front elevation is facing Arcola. Is that the predominant setback on Arcola, 30 feet, for the R1?
It actually is, yeah.
So this would be proud of that by 15 feet.
Yes.
How does that work with sidewalks and stuff?
Well, the sidewalk is in the same location, at least it's supposed to be, because the right-of-way width is uniform.
Okay.
So the sidewalk would be in the same location and meet the horizontal and vertical line with each other, with the existing sidewalks.
Do you see any issues with that being 15 foot closer and being on a corner?
Honestly,
Ingress and egress to the,
the building does meet the 30-foot setback requirement off of Cherry Hill, and so it will be a comfortable amount away from Cherry Hill and the noise and the traffic volume of Cherry Hill.
And it won't obstruct sightlines because it's set back that far off of Cherry Hill.
That's right.
let's see.
And honestly, I do think that's because it's a two-story building, it's not 3 or 4 stories, it won't be, have a disproportionate relationship to the width of the street. You know, sometimes you can feel like a cavern effect if buildings are just too high in relation to the street. In this case, there's only going to be 2 feet, 2 stories, and so it's relatively proportional to the streetscape.
If, I drove through there, but it was dark when I did. Predominantly, the houses on that street are all single story, as I recall.
They are single story, but it's typical of that entire subdivision, that quadrant of the city, south of Marquette, excuse me. Most of those that go on the north-south roads are about the same. Modest style ranches, about 50 to 60 foot lot widths. So single-family ranches. We do note that there is another apartment building 2 blocks down, but that one is fronting on Cherry Hill.
There's a multifamily directly to the north of this too, isn't there?
There is,
Yes.
but it is a ranch style.
Yeah.
So on this side of the street, while they are a 30-foot setback, they're a ranch style, so the mass of it is pretty big. And then to the north of them is about 4 single-family homes. On the west side of Arcola, it's all single-family homes, and they are all about, I think, they're all about 30 feet from the right-of-way. And they're
Any other-
uniform on that side.
Any other questions for Mr. Ortega? Okay. Does the applicant's representative have any comments he'd like to make at this time?
I'm sorry for being late. Just to clarify about the setback, the 15 feet. So the 15 feet is from the sidewalk to the building, not from the street to the building. So
Right.
there's, it's going to be around 28 feet from the street to the building. So, yeah, so it's going to make, it's almost 30 feet, and like it's not going to distract or anything when you're turning on Arcola coming from Cherry Hill. Yeah, and thank you for that recommendation. For the photometric, we're working on it. We're going to submit it, make sure
Okay, and you have no problem, I assume, with the sidewalk from the front entrance to the Arcola sidewalk? There's a recommendation for a sidewalk running from the entrance of the building to Arcola's, running out to the sidewalk?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll do that.
okay.
Yes.
Yes,
I just want to make sure, this is landscaping that's on the city property here?
That's actually on the sidewalk.
That's okay, So this is landscaping on the city property, to the west of the building?
West of the building, like in Arcola.
So that, correct. So that's,
Yeah.
you intend on putting landscaping on the city property?
Yeah,
that has to
Well-
be moved onto your property.
That's weird.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be my property adjacent to the, city property. It's
Yeah.
gonna be inside.
To the, right, inside of the sidewalk,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
Is there a detail that I'm missing for the dumpster enclosure to show bollards and
I didn't see that.
material?
Second page, it's,
Second
Mhm.
page.
SB2.
Yeah, on the left-hand side. On the inside left edge of your plan set, Mike. The inside left edge. There you go.
Oh, that's why I missed it. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I don't see bollards to protect the structure from the waste removal company.
We have bullets inside, inside the dumpster, inside the perimeter of the dumpster.
Wouldn't-
I have to include the details of it.
Wouldn't you want them on the outside to
Yes,
protect the
we will have
structure?
to the outside and include the inside.
You'll have them on both sides,
Yes,
okay. They don't show on the plan, though?
No, they don't. Neither inside or outside. Well, it shows a bumper post, but it's halfway inside the structure, which is not gonna protect
That's not
the
gonna protect the structure,
whatsoever.
no.
It'll allow about half the structure
Well,
to be
with the
destroyed before
with
it
the
does it.
revision of the plan, you should make that detail clear, showing that the bollards are on the outside of the structure.
It's for your benefit more than anything. It'd be nice to hide them inside, but they won't protect your structure if the person that's dumping the trash is careless.
Well, the good thing is that usually we do actually put them in both places, because in the back, what happens is, let's just say the new one, let's
Push
say,
it through the back
push
wall.
it through the back.
Yeah, the
And the-
one in the back is a good idea
Yeah.
for a single dumpster like this.
And then the good thing is, to the north and south side of the dumpster, he's gonna have a raised curb with some landscaping. So that'll help some, but not as much as, like you suggested, a bollard on the front as well. So it'll be pretty protected.
But currently, it's not raised
No,
that I can see.
Are there any other concerns?
No, we got photometric, we got photo,
No, we should add the dumpster to the list of
right,
recommendations.
bollards. Do we want to see a raised curb around that with a couple pieces of additional landscaping, a couple of small bushes or something?
they do show it on the plan. Kinda hard to see, but.
I see, yeah, I see the bushes. So Those are just planted in an open area of dirt? There's no,
No, I think it is a raised curb island.
I see the
I see the
outline,
double, yeah, I see the double lines.
but it's not indicating 4-inch, 6-inch, or anything
True, it should indicate.
to indicate an elevation on that.
Mhm.
I'm pleased with all the landscaping, and if that is landscaping on
The
each side of
landscaping
it,
would be nice if it was on their property.
yeah, it would be better that way.
Yeah, we can't have it
You
outside the
won't get a
sidewalk.
certificate of approval by
No.
putting it on city's property.
They do have a curb detail in SP3, but you're right, it should be noted, like they should note that there's, the raised curb is there, and then how it's constructed will be on SP3.
Overall, moving the landscaping onto the property of the owner, are we happy with the landscaping? And does this degree of landscaping require irrigation?
They're required to indicate their method of irrigation, whether it's an automatic system or some other method, but typically the most effective would be a integral irrigation system in the ground.
Well, we know from past experience over many years that if it's not irrigated
Right.
with some sort of a timer, it gets watered for about 3 months. Then it stops being watered as a general rule.
Yep.
So I don't see a detail about the watering. What was your method to keep all these plants alive?
We would have to have sprinkler system.
Is that noted?
Automatic sprinkler system, is that what you're saying? Would that be an automatic sprinkler system?
Is that noted on here?
Based on the time,
Is that on here someplace that I missed?
no.
No, it's not. He needs to add, they do need to add it in the landscaping notes.
Along with these corrections, if there's some additional work that needs to be redone on the plan and returned, if this is approved, would you be willing to take care of that administratively?
Yes, we can do those.
Okay.
Yeah, those are notes that can be included in administrative review, and then during construction plan review with the building department, all the details will be reviewed at that stage as well.
Okay.
The things that I think we have questions on are the photometric plan, the bullards. The one in the back seems like a very good idea. The two in the front should really be more to protect the structure, and the raised curb. I'd like to see that detail more clear, if not within a specific drawing, at least with a notification thereof, with what we do have here. And irrigation, I'd like to see that noted clearly. Does that seem like it covers the areas of our concern there?
And then just that the landscaping will be shifted onto the private property
Yeah,
on Arcola.
landscape.
Yeah, well,
Off the
if
city.
we include the couple extra things that you mentioned along with the recommendations on
And
the
then-
review,
And then the 15-foot,
well, that's part of the recommendations.
yeah, the variance,
They have to obtain the variance,
right.
yeah. And are there any other comments? If not, would somebody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the following items, that we get a detail for the photometric plan, that we get a detail or a note so far as the bullards and the raised curb, and that we get a drawing change that shows the landscaping is on the owner's property and not the city's?
Well, we can use these recommendations.
Yes.
You want to include all of the recommendations on this review?
Yes, and the recommendations that are on the existing review. And, let's see, that has irrigation?
No, that was one of yours.
That's one of the ones that we need,
Yeah.
we don't need a detail necessarily, but we need a notation on the site plan before it gets signed.
Yes. Mhm. And contingent upon receiving the variance.
And contingent upon receiving a variance, yes.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Support.
Support? Any comments on the motion?
Just one comment was the sidewalk on the west side of the building to the front door. Was that in your recommendation?
Yes.
I think you verbalized it, but I was trying to track it back to D or G.
It is, it's in paragraph G.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I apologize.
That's right
I
here.
missed it.
Yeah, that's under
All right.
C, yeah,
Yeah, I'm good.
okay.
No other comments? Would you take the roll, please?
Commissioner Steenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Kalidas,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner King,
Aye.
Chairperson May.
I have to abstain because I've already voted on this issue at the Board of Appeals.
Motion does pass.
Motion passes. Your motion passed. Your next step would be to get your variance at the ZBA. Okay, thank you.
And get back with Mario. Good luck.
Okay, next item. Request for special land use. This is PPL 24-0015. Special land use and site plan approval to establish a hobby shop with an outdoor RC race course at 6332 Middle Belt Road in the C2 Community Business Zoning District. Let's start out with Mr. Ortega's report.
Good evening, everyone. So this is in regards to basically what is known as the Maplewood Lumber vacant property site. So it's right there at the corner of Maplewood and Middlebelt, the southeast corner. The site area in total is approximately 98,000 square feet or 2.27 acres. And the site has two unoccupied single-story structures, and that with an unimproved vacant areas to the east of those structures and south of them. The applicant is proposing the building that fronts on Middlebelt Road to be occupied by a retail hobby shop and also two indoor racetracks for remote control cars. And then the 100 by 122 foot building, the larger building to the east of that front Middlebelt building, is identified as a warehouse currently with a future indoor racetrack. And then the vacant area to the east of the building is proposed for an outdoor RC course for remote control cars. So this application was before you previously, several years ago. It did receive special land use and site plan approval for the project in April of 2021. Construction of the property actually was never, or the project was actually never started. And so as a result, the approvals granted in 2021 have expired. So the applicant is actually proposing the same project as was previously approved. Now this requires special land use approval because of the outdoor race car component. That's an outdoor recreation use, and it does require special land use approval in addition to site plan. So as mentioned, the plan itself has not changed from the one that was submitted and approved. But going over special land use issues in the current development area and conditions, we look at compatibility with adjacent uses. The adjacent uses around the property haven't changed. There is, while the site is vacant, to the north is the high school, to directly east is a single-family residence, to the south is commercial use and also an adult foster care group home, and then to the west is, on the other side of Middlebelt, is the sport venue, bar and grill. So looking at this particular use, and specifically the outdoor race car use, the potential for that to negatively impact adjacent property could exist if it was there on its own. However, the applicant is still proposing to construct a masonry wall along the 150-foot property line adjacent to the single-family home to the east. And then they also are still going to do a masonry wall shown along the southern lot line adjacent to the RM and the commercial property. Arborvitaes are proposed along the interior of the east and south wall, planted 36 inches on center, in an attempt to also dampen any noise created by the vehicles. And then along Maplewood, they're proposing a 6-foot-high synthetic resin fence along with a 5-foot-wide landscape buffer. So in the end, the entire outdoor facility will be completely enclosed with a fenced landscape screening. And then the use itself is proposed to operate from 9 a.m. to dusk, so not during any nighttime hours. So as mentioned, while noise from this type of activity could be the main factor in issue, depending on the level of noise generated, the applicant has stated that they will still be utilized for electric vehicles, and they produce much less noise than the gas-fueled RC cars that are found. The applicant in the past has provided videos with sound that show the level of sound created. So in addition to the proposed screening and the type of vehicle, there also are the requirements of our performance standards that the applicant would have to abide by in terms of noise levels. So if for some reason the noise levels did get excessive, they would just have to comply with reducing those noise levels, meaning stopping the level of activity. So given the proximity to the proximity to Millville, I guess, isn't really an issue. The fact that this outdoor use is being screened on all sides would indicate that it could be compatible given the adjacent uses around the site. And then going over some of the other issues, specifically when it comes to outdoor recreational activities, there are some specific requirements. The applicant does meet the minimum lot area requirement. They are modifying the driveways to reduce the number of curb cuts onto Maplewood, so therefore they would comply with the driveway location requirements. They have appropriate lot width, and the loading and parking areas are sufficient on the site. The one note the applicant is indicating as a modification is that the parking lots are technically required to have a 10-foot setback along any right-of-way. They are providing the 10-foot setback along Middle Belt. However, they're just proposing a 5-foot landscape buffer and then a 2-foot lawn area along the Maplewood side. So it'd be they're proposing a slight modification to the screening of the parking lot along Maplewood. The other issues regarding land use, special land use, in terms of like traffic generated by this particular use, it's directly adjacent to Middle Belt, one of the two primary arterials of the city and the county, and it should have more than sufficient capacity to handle any traffic generated by the proposed use. So in the end, we do believe while the establishment of the use might pose some substantial challenges, the applicant has proposed an effective amount of screening and landscaping for the proposed use. And so in the end, the Planning Commission must determine that the establishment of the open-air business will be in substantial compliance with all these special land use criteria to warrant approval. So that's the sum of the special land use recommendation and conclusions. We can talk about special land use, or we could move on to site plan.
The reduction of the setback on the Maplewood side, would that require a variance?
Because it's a standard of the special land use criteria, you have the ability to deem whether that's acceptable.
Okay.
Because you have the ability to modify any standards with regards to what you deem as appropriate for the special land use.
Okay. Mr. Steinberg?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with with the Maplewood setback. We have the school adjacent to that. It's certainly not going to be a noise issue for anybody in that direction. Did I understand it's going to be all electric on the outdoor, no gas at all?
Yes, that's what the applicant has indicated.
Seems like it cuts off part of your business, because the gas, I know, is still popular.
It's also very loud.
It is very loud, so that we would look at
Quite
that.
honestly, I think it's infeasible for us to run any sort of fuel in a city setting like this. There are neighborhoods right behind. Imagine having, 5 or 6 angry lawnmowers or weed whackers running at the same time.
Yeah,
That would be horrible. People would absolutely hate that. And that's not what we're trying to achieve. So, electric is, a 50 decibel, 60 decibel vehicle when they're at their loudest. And it's really not disruptive. So I couldn't imagine this possibly not being upsetting to the neighborhood unless we stay strictly electric.
and your hours of operation were what?
Basically, the outdoor venue would be from 9 a.m. to dusk.
I'm
So summertime?
I'm a little concerned about the designation of going to dusk at night because of a couple of things. In the summertime, that's going to make it running pretty late. Doesn't get dark till 9:30, almost 10 o'clock
Yeah.
at times.
I think we stipulated that it would be dusk or 8 p.m.
Well, I think, yeah, whichever is the earlier.
Correct. And I think we stipulated that.
Okay, because I didn't see that in the,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I remember talking about it. I don't remember seeing if it was a note. Maybe that has to
I
be
think would
revised in the
be
note.
acceptable if we have a maximum of 8 p.m.
8 p.m. is the latest for any sort of lawn cutting or anything of that sort, so
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
that would be acceptable to me.
Yeah,
And,
I thought I heard something much earlier than that. I thought you said 6, and you're cutting off all your family time. So 8 o'clock sounds,
but I think that should be designated in
yeah,
And the approval.
we need a note on the plans, definitely.
as well as designating that only electric cars shall be in use, which you,
That we stipulated.
Yeah, those notes are included, like on page CN3, general note, electric only RC vehicles. They have a maximum decibel level of 52.
Oh, I see it, yeah, 55.
we're talking about, 55 dBs. Is that the limit in the
Ordinance?
ordinance?
I do believe. I will triple check. Yeah, it might be.
I think it is too.
Is that,
My new electric lawnmower is rated for 55, and that's only if it's cutting thick grass, because it's got a governor, and if it doesn't need to go that speed, it won't. And I don't have to wear ear protection anymore. 55 is pretty quiet.
yeah.
I can hear all the neighbors with the gas
Did
mowers.
we get that number from your specifications on the cars, or?
We actually measured different vehicles.
Mhm.
We took a sampling of them running at full speed and at idle, and took the loudest that we could find.
Okay, so 55 was the loudest that you had.
Correct.
Yeah.
In residential areas, the maximum permitted is 55 in residential. It's 65 in commercial, and 70.
We're right adjacent to residential.
Exactly.
So
So 55 would be
55
appropriate.
is a-
I think, I think that should be designated in the approval also.
Yes.
Okay.
It is. in
While
the-
you're up, did you have anything else that you'd like to,
The only issue that I had is, at one point in time, I was approached by the owner of the residence in the rear, and I'm surprised they're not here, because they were upset with us because we were putting up a masonry wall along the entire length of their property. And I said, look, this is what I'm required
it's the most durable and it gives them the most protection. I can see the site of it is,
For their own
Gonna
benefit.
alter their
Maybe he thinks it's cutting down his sightlines or something, but
yeah. But it's the most durable and it gives them the most protection
Yeah.
for light, noise, and most everything else. At one time, we did stockade fences. We discovered that they had a life expectancy of
Right.
give or take 3 to 6 months.
Months. Yikes.
We don't do stockade fences anymore.
Although, quite honestly, the new synthetic fence is not vinyl, but similar to a material that like your large municipal garbage cans are made out of.
Okay.
A very dense material. You know, that was something that I looked at because they're decorative. They can come in stone designs and all sorts of things that we looked at for the Maplewood side to make it more appealing.
yeah.
They tend to be pricier than just a masonry fence, but quite honestly, they're not gonna cry. And, they'll be there long after I'm not here.
Yeah.
So they require no maintenance. That was the other option that we had, and I'm not sure if it was the alternative or not, but,
And it did say vinyl resin fence on Maplewood.
so.
Yeah.
Are you the same person that owns the drone shop?
That's me.
I'm not sure what you're selling, but 2 of my son's friends that live in Colorado buy from you.
They're there right now. I think that if they move here,
No, they live in Colorado.
okay, then no.
They live in Colorado and they purchase equipment from you to use in Colorado.
We try to be straightforward in how we do business, maybe they just like it. It's funny because I actually have 2 guys that moved here from Colorado. That's who I thought you were
Ah.
talking about. And they're now customers, they're actually at the shop right now.
Huh.
Anyway, well, thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Would
Do
we
you want
wanna
to go ahead with the site plan review before we
Yes.
act on it?
Yes, because it is very brief. As noted, it is the same plan as previously submitted. With regards to the building itself, while it is located in the DDA, it's not located in the central business district, so there are no design standards for this location. The site plan itself notes that the CMU will be refurbished and painted with a color that would be determined in consultation with the DDA board. And so we would just wonder if the applicant could provide some specific color of the materials proposed on the elevations. And then we just note that if any roof-mounted equipment will be proposed during the construction phase, it will have to be screened if proposed on the Maplewood building. And then we also note that based on the amount of parking provided and the proposed uses, and currently there are 33 parking spaces that are in addition to what's required by the hobby shop, the indoor racetracks, and the outdoor racetracks. However, when the interior of the larger building is utilized, provided there is a similar designated area for the standing of the participants, then there should be more than enough parking spaces. For example, if all 33 parking spaces are designated, that would be saying 99 additional people could be located just in that second building. But in the end, that question will be answered if and when a proposed renovation of that interior proposed warehouse area to a race course is done at that time. But then beyond that, the only issue that we would just like to note is that the site plan should be revised to include elevation drawings for the dumpster enclosure.
I didn't see anything about a photometric plan for the,
They did note, that is correct, they don't have a specific photometric plan that includes the light levels at each location. There's notes on the site plans with regards to proposed light fixtures and the light model and the models, and then the mounting height, and then a graphic indicating the throw distance of those light fixtures to be a maximum of, I believe, 30 feet. And so,
I'm just concerned that the neighbors aren't getting a lot of overflow light.
Correct, correct. I mean, based on the location of the proposed lights on the back wall of the building, and a maximum throw of 30 feet, which is typical for like the higher capacity wall-mounted fixtures, because it would have to be shielded and directed downward. That proposed light fixture is in compliance. It won't throw that far. However, if you feel it's necessary to have a photometric plan, that can be required.
Well, are you confident that those light fixtures won't be an issue?
These particular ones, no, because they have provided the model number, and I have researched the cut sheet details for those fixtures, and they are appropriate. I would just be concerned given the distance from the building to the residence to the east, it's a significant distance that won't be impacted by those light fixtures. It's only if the applicant proposes additional light fixtures, and at that time I'd require a photometric plan.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it possible to put the light fixtures on the masonry wall by the house to face the race, like face the commercial building? Or is that just not no electric back there?
Well, in addition to no electric, the maximum height of the wall is 6 foot,
Oh,
so you're not going to get a lot of throw.
oh, okay.
And plus, given the fact that he's doesn't intend to operate during nighttime hours, he doesn't really need the light back
They
there.
don't, they don't need a whole lot of light back there.
No.
I had some question about the other parking lot,
On the south.
future racetrack, the asphalt paved lot that you are saying that you plan on using for future racing?
Well, the asphalt side.
This is on the south side of the building.
On the south side of the building, if we were to do that for an occasional event, then we'd have to have a permit for a special event. So it would be a parking lot primarily, occasionally might be used for something else.
The issue that I see is there's no fencing around that, I don't believe.
Understood.
And-
Again, if it were to be used for something additional, for example, there may be periods of time where we'll have manufacturers visit, and they would want to set up like an inflatable track for people to try certain cars on. That would be an appropriate place for that type of
Okay.
function, where we wouldn't eat into our primary parking. I can't really envision much racing being done on asphalt. It's not typical for our part of the country. That's something actually that's quite European. We really don't do that here much.
Hmm.
I think we have a great farm.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments about the site plan?
I see on CN3, we have electric only listed for outdoors, but on CN2, it says exterior electric off-road course. It doesn't necessarily say only or electric, but
Well, I think
you got it
during our,
covered.
when we make our motion for approval, we can include electric only in that motion.
Yeah.
And that,
Well, under general notes on 3, it does say electric only RC vehicles, so.
well, I think that's the
they-
intention, but just to clear up,
Okay, because one says
yeah,
something a little bit different.
yeah.
But it sounds like you have those concerns already in mind. You're not looking to irritate everybody in the neighborhood with these buzzsaws.
Right.
Quite honestly, it's the nitro and gas vehicles, they're irritating me. They smell, they're loud.
I know the nitro ones, which I like the smell, but I know it makes my wife sick.
I used to run nitro, but that was 30 years ago. And so there's no purpose, because the electric vehicles are actually just like a Tesla.
Instant torque.
They're lightning fast, I know.
So it's the same type of thing here.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we want to
Okay.
change dusk to 8 PM.
And the only other thing on the site plan, we need elevation sheets with the colors and dumpster enclosure detailed elevation drawings.
Right. And we need,
And then the grading plan has to be approved by the city engineer.
okay, and we need the word dusk eliminated and put
Well-
8 PM.
Dusk
Or
or
earlier.
8 PM, whichever
Earlier.
is earlier.
So that'll cover our winter time hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they don't want to run after dark.
And electric only.
Are you seeking a motion for these separately?
Yeah, we need a motion first for the special
Sorry.
land use.
Well, just point of order, we probably do need to just open and close the public hearing officially.
Oh, right. Okay. We'll open the public hearing at 7:22. Does anyone wish to speak at the public hearing concerning this item? Seeing no one? No public comments or questions. Do we have any written communications?
We do not.
Okay. Then we'll close the public hearing at 7:23. Now, do we have any discussion on motion?
Well, I will make a motion for the special land use recommendation at 6332 Middle Belt Road.
Okay, that has to be contingent on approval of the site plan.
Contingent on the approval of the site plan.
Any comments or questions about the motion? Take the roll, please.
Commissioner King,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Kalidas, Commissioner Steenberg,
Aye.
Chairperson May,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to the site plan. We need to include hours of operation, the fact that we have electric only on the outdoor tracks,
And dumpster.
and the other recommendations on the site plan review.
And the 55 decibels, I think we mentioned too.
And, yeah,
That's currently listed.
I
I'm
know
sorry?
it
55 is currently listed.
Oh, okay.
listed where.
Page 5.
There's some
We-
problem there, though, because 55 is for residential, as Mario said, and 65 is commercial, so we want to include the 55 decibel limit.
Yeah, okay.
Someone care to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We want to, a motion to include the 55 decibel maximum sound limit, a dumpster enclosure, a notation that says electric only, another notation on the site plan that says dusk or 8 PM, whichever comes first.
For hours of
or
operation?
Earliest.
Yep.
And,
And electric cars only?
yeah, electric only. And make a motion to approve.
Is there support? Motion's made and supported. Could you read that back to us, Jake?
Yes, you're making a motion to approve the site plan contingent on the recommendations as well as updating the hours for 8 PM or dusk, depending on what's earlier. The 55 decibel notation as well as the electric only notation on the site plans. And the dumpsters were included in the recommendation from Mr. Ortega.
We also, I guess you didn't do the whole recommendation, but we need an elevation sheet showing the colors on the building facade.
Oh, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you want to include that?
Yeah, yeah. Got that.
That, Drew? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any comments on the motion? Should take the roll.
Commissioner Steenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Kalidas,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams, Mr. King,
Aye.
Chairperson May,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay, the special land use has to go to the city council for approval, and you can contact Mr. Ortega, see where we stand. Thank you.
Good luck. Kind of got delayed a few years with COVID.
Well, we had to wait till Discovery closed for our action, so now we're good to go.
Oh,
Good.
great.
Good luck.
Okay, moving on. Other business. We have zoning ordinance amendments. Discussion of revised amendment language regarding accessory buildings, residential driveway standards, C2 permitted uses, and other potential amendments. Mr. Ortega, you want to go through this?
Yes. So first, I'd like to go over the memo that with regards to the accessory structures amendment language. We've talked about this in the past. I revised these based on your comments and direction. So basically, the first item that was addressed was with regards to decks. So on page 2 of the accessory structure handout at the top, language has been added to address the issue of the fact that sometimes decks are attached, but sometimes they're not attached to houses. So clarifying language was added to make sure that decks comply with the setback height and area requirements of the principal building. So now the verbiage states that any deck that provides entry into the principal building, whether physically attached to the principal building or a separate and self-supporting structure, shall be considered attached to the principal building. And then that next line says, attached accessory buildings shall comply with all area, setback, height, and bulk requirements applicable to the principal building. So that was an attempt to clean up a loophole that sometimes occurs when, if someone comes and says, well, my deck isn't attached to my building, so I therefore don't have to comply with. Which it's not unheard of, people making that semantic argument. So that was brought up and addressed. Another modification to these standards, we previously had discussions about allowing residential lots that are larger in size and scale in the city to have the opportunity to have additional accessory structure area. Because while we do have a large amount of 40, 50 foot wide lots that don't go very deep, we do have lots that sometimes go back 300 feet in depth. And so, in an effort to keep the approach to that issue simple, at the bottom of page 2, in subparagraph 3, additional language was added with regards to the size and lot coverage. So basically, the first sentence of the paragraph says that the total of accessory buildings shall not exceed 1,200 square feet. However, then it specifically says lots with single-family residences greater than 20,000 square feet in area shall be permitted to have a maximum sum total area of all accessory structures not exceeding 2,000 square feet. So a 20,000 square foot lot is about 0.45 acres. And so basically it's equivalent to a 70 by 300 foot lot. So those are the lots that, you generally find when you're south of Ford. They run generally from south of Ford down to Marquette, and then generally from Harrison over to Henry Ruff. It's where we have a lot of our larger lots. There are also some on the north side. They're generally west of Metal Belt. You go all the way over to basically Shatka, sometimes the north and east and west side of Shatka, and then you go up all the way to Elmwood. Not necessarily all the way up to Maplewood, but about to Elmwood. So these lots are deeper, and so rather than propose a specific percentage, because percentages can get, extensive and there's just no indicating like how much square footage that could be done if they were allowed a particular percentage, because 20,000 square feet lots are pretty big for comparison, because while they are generally next to each other, sometimes they're adjacent to smaller lots. So in this case, I was hoping that by allowing them to have additional square footage, and not specifying the number of structures, not specifying the size and scale of the structures, but allowing them to have those, in theory, might meet this request to allow for large lots to have more accessory structures. So I'm not sure what your opinion was on how that approach works.
They're all across the street from me. There's 5 of them on the north side of,
Yeah,
Bach,
the big lots?
between Henry
Oh, a
Ruff
Bach,
and Mary.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So with regards to this, though, the only other one thing to keep in mind is that none of the other requirements of them are being modified. They still have to be required to be in the rear yard. They still have their setback requirements. But in theory, I'm just attempting to answer this request of the idea that these larger lots should have this additional opportunity to have larger additional square accessory structures, so.
I'm wondering if we run into a problem by changing this. Years ago, I looked at I guess it was a plat map. The area between Henry Rupp and Merriman, those lots that are the 300-foot deep ones, and there's 5 or 6. There's a right-of-way listed on the back of those lots. There was originally a street platted to go back there. Now, I don't know if that's ever been altered or if that's still on somebody's map someplace. Other than the right-of-way for the utilities, which I don't recall what that is for those deep lots.
Well, the utilities don't always run at the back of those lots.
I live in one of those houses.
Well,
Yeah.
the right-of-way does.
The
The ones
utility
across
runs
the
through the
street.
middle of the backyard in mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I live in one of those houses, and the utilities run over my property. And they closed that road when they built Berger.
Well,
My
there's
neighbor's
never
house
been a
faces-
road there,
faces
so
the Phantom Road.
there was nothing to
Yeah.
close, but it was originally platted for a road to go in between there.
And in
You
some.
don't really have 300-foot deep lots, is what I'm saying. I'm not sure what the ROW, the right-of-way, would be for that. It would have been a residential side street.
Right, I mean, chances are they should have been 66, but they probably would have, maybe they went down to 50. But the issue with that is that while they might have, in theory, been platted that way, or thought about being platted, like, for example, there are some on Middle Belt, there's between the real estate building and then the old Moose, no, the old Mason, no. Not VFW, I can't remember, American Legion? I don't know what it was. It
American
wasn't?
Legion, Middle Belt, north of Ford Road.
Middle Belt south of Ford Road. You got the XLRC, and then you got the old Real Estate One building, the Schenectady, the 2-story building. And then there's another, it was a community hall. It's going to be the Moose of moving there. But anyway, between those two buildings, the Masons, thank you. It was a Masons Hall. Between those two buildings, there actually was a platted right-of-way for a road, but then that was eventually abandoned. And so while they might have been these ideas of having it, and they probably should have, and you can tell by the residential pattern of some of the other streets in the city, that just made sense. Like, for example, what am I looking at right here? Pierce probably should have continued from the west side of Henry Ruff and going all the way through to Middle Belt. They might have thought about that, excuse me, but in the end, they didn't. So the right-of-ways were never created for those roads. And so right now, they are 300, those lots are 300 feet deep.
Okay.
Another example of that would be like Brown. Brown does go through, it's one block north of Marquette, and it goes from Middle Belt over 1 street. What would that be,
Goes over to
Brant? Is that Brant? Yeah, over to Brant, but then it dead ends. So in theory, it should have continued on because it only ends for 1 block. Brown picks up again on the west side of Henry Ruff. So that 1 block, it just doesn't go through. So basically what it is that back in the day, they thought about planning it, they thought about having these smaller lots, but they just didn't. So right now, they do exist. Now, the idea behind this, once again, is just this idea that since we have these deeper lots, they should be given the opportunity to have more accessory structures. So I don't know, so that was just an approach to take. I'm not sure what you guys' feelings are on whether that should still be a consideration.
I thought we had extensive conversation. Are we still talking about the 2,000?
Yeah,
I thought we decided on that.
right. Yeah, so that's the approach. So this would be the approach. And to me, it's the simplest. It gives the property owners the most alternatives because, you're not limiting the number of structures and that sort of thing. But,
Are we ready for questions?
Mhm.
So I don't know if you were still going through it. I just had a question on page 6, under A, B. B carries on on the top of page 6. And it references, in no case shall vehicles be parked closer than 5 feet to the front lot line. That's to the sidewalk?
yeah, right there it is.
So why would we do this?
Well, typically, it's just, well, I guess in theory, we could just change it to the sidewalk. It's just an attempt to, we can do that.
That would be my suggestion. I mean, I don't know. Okay, go ahead.
Are we talking about the parking that we were talking about with Dr. Act?
Well, this is just permitted parking areas, so this seems like a general kind of catch-all, if I'm reading
Yeah.
it right.
So I believe we got a couple ordinances on that now. You can't park in between your dwelling and the city sidewalk in front of the house, period.
Right,
Unless you have a pad, and then you can park on the pad,
right,
which allows people to circle drive and park on the pad.
right.
So the issue that I'm having with this, if we're gonna allow people to circle driveway to park within the 28 or 30-foot setback from the city sidewalk to the house, then why are we allowing people to pour that extra 5 feet and park in front of their porch? It's the same. You're still having a vehicle in front of the house, which an ordinance says that we cannot have.
People with circular driveways have a right that other people don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's we've got like 2 ordinances on the books, but our building code permits us to put that pad there. We can have it as long as you're not over the excess of concrete in the yard. So I guess it's just what we want to discuss and decide what to do with the parking in the front of the house.
But so I think I hear what you're saying, but I believe this is different.
Right, this is different, like that one is just a holdover in an attempt to minimize the amount of parking, but yeah, it also makes sense to just have it go to the sidewalk.
So yeah, one of our brick ranches with a traditional single drive, this is saying your bumper better be at least 5 feet from the sidewalk when you park your car in your driveway.
Right, yeah.
That just feels excessive to me. I would say my proposal would be we say to the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are considerate of blocking the sidewalk. I don't think they're thinking, oh, I need to leave 5 feet between my bumper and the sidewalk.
Right, yeah, so that can be changed, yeah.
There's a lot of garages built so close to the sidewalk that you can't get that.
Especially on corner houses.
Right, so.
Corner houses, yeah.
Yeah.
there's no way they can park a car and have an extra 5 feet. They can barely get it in between the garage and the sidewalk.
Right, so that's true, then this would give an opportunity to have at least garages that are at least 20 feet from the sidewalk, and they can have at least one car in the driveway, or two, if it's a double, if it's a two-car garage.
Well, they could have that before, correct? You never stopped them from doing that before. You're just trying to increase the distance between the sidewalk and the vehicle.
Right, yeah. That was just probably a holdover from additional, like when we first attempted to go more stringent on all the parking, because the impetus for all these, for potential changes to these are those homes that just pave the entire front yard, and they just park everywhere. And they park in front of the house, and they block sidewalks. So it was an attempt to push them into the appropriate location of being in the driveway. But you're right, we should still give them, they need the opportunity to park on their private property, and so their private property goes to the sidewalk, so having the sidewalk there does make sense.
That 5 feet probably cost them $5,000.
Exactly. That's true, in terms of sidewalks, concrete today, yeah. So yeah, that can be changed to just, no occasional vehicles be parked closer, shall now cross the,
Yeah, block the sidewalk.
shall not block the sidewalk.
And like I said, I'm kind of at a loss what a circle drive, what a difference is between that and doing an extra 8 feet in front of your porch, let's say, for parking. I mean, if we're gonna allow the parking in a circle drive, sometimes on these circle drives, you could put 2-3 cars.
Well, my original proposal was to not allow parking in the circle drive, for that very reason, to be consistent.
But you're gonna let people still pour them.
Yeah, because in theory, the purpose of the circle drive is, number one, safety, so that when vehicles are exiting their property, they're exiting forward. And so that's actually one reason why the new language in here is also allowing T turnarounds, because specifically on Cherry Hill is the most obvious location. Those people trying to get an extra curb cut on Cherry Hill, a county road, is near to next impossible. So while they might have the lot width to create a circle drive, they can't get approval from Wayne County to have that second curb cut. So the proposal here is to allow a T turnaround pad. And trying to be consistent, I was trying to be consistent initially and say you can't park in the pad, because the pad most likely, you can't park in the pad if it's going to be in front of the house. But you've indicated that, that seemed excessive, so we've changed that. So now people can park in the pad in front of the house, and people can park on their circle driveway in front of the house. So we're getting more and more situations where parking is overtaking. And it's not, it is a reflection of the modern times, the fact that, you have kids staying home longer or coming back home from college. You have vehicles in those homes. A lot of times,
A lot of houses with multi-cars.
a lot of homes, multiple cars, especially, and a lot of times, it does make sense, I guess, on the circle drives, because they usually have the width. If they have the width to have a circle drive, they probably have the width to have a larger home, meaning more bedrooms, meaning more drivers in the structure.
More vehicles.
More vehicles. So the idea of allowing them the ability to do that. A lot of these 40-foot and 60-foot wide lots that only have ranch homes, while I understand that they might have additional vehicles, at some point, why do you have 7 or an additional amount of vehicles on a smaller house? At that point in time, maybe it's necessary at that point to get a newer home with a larger garage, deeper driveway, to accommodate them. This issue has come up in other communities, but then it results in a lot more pavement, a lot more stormwater issues, a lot more flooding issues, because people want to have 5 cars in a 900 square foot home.
I guess the issue I have is a lot of the lots over by me are 60-footers. The streets are 27 feet wide. If you park 2 vehicles on the street across from each other, you cannot get an emergency vehicle down the street.
Right.
The street's too narrow. My street was replaced in 2019, right before COVID, and it floods, and I have one person that has that extra pad in front of their porch on my street. It had nothing to do with his pad, it had to do with the reconstruction of the street. So I think we're putting too many restrictions on our residents as far as parking. I mean, what do we do in a snow emergency? They gotta get their vehicles off the streets. We just keep implementing restrictions, and I think we're going too far.
I think
Well,
so, too.
these regulations right now are allowing for more parking on the private property. They're allowing the parking in the circle drives, they're allowing for parking on the T turnarounds.
But you're not allowing the people with a 60-foot lot to have a 10-foot pad in front of their porch. So why are we allowing for,
Because of the size and scale of the lots. The size and scale of the lots are they have enough width to get a circle drive, or they have enough width on Cherry Hill to put in a T turnaround.
so if you're on a 60-foot lot and I got 9.5 feet on the other side of me, opposite of my driveway, can I put an additional driveway on that side as long as it's not in front of my house?
Not right now, no.
Next question. So we're talking about page 5A3.
I just want to note that I never got that memo in my packet.
Neither did I.
Oh, you did?
I don't have it
I don't have it either.
I got two
No.
gas station,
Yep.
I got the two gas stations, so I'm like, what are you all looking at?
I was gonna,
Oh, here, you
But
can
I'm
have one.
following along.
I'm just going off memory. so-
That's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't have one either. No.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
gonna mention, I think there was a clerical error because I don't have the second page either, building of the packets. I do have page, that is page 4. I actually have 2 copies of that, not the one that is, goes up to, I believe,
I
page
got the
7.
same thing.
I'm following along, you
No, I have a digital
can,
copy.
okay.
Well,
You must be the only one that got it.
yeah, well, you know what? There's a story.
Frank, do you have the whole,
I happened to be at City Hall last week, and Brian's like, hey, while you're here, can I give you your packet? And I said, sure, remember I was there?
Frank was lucky enough to get his packet before the rest of the packets were created, so.
I just happened to be at City Hall. So it says, maybe I could just read it for the commission. So lots with no garage or a detached garage shall be permitted one driveway that is not located between the principal structure and the front lot line.
right?
And if some of the commissioners may remember in a prior meeting, I had suggested that maybe we should say like 20%. Shall be no more than 20% or some number, because I tend to agree that if, I have owned one of those 1950 style brick ranches, and I did put in, and it made a big difference just from getting in and out of the driveway, kids to school, that sort of thing. So I like the idea of giving residents some flexibility without saying you can pave your whole front lawn.
I don't like the idea of parking cars in front of the house, though.
But you do it with a circular driveway.
And the
I know.
T-turnarounds now.
Right.
If somebody's paid for the curb cut and has the width and has paid to have a circular driveway, I think it's wrong to restrict them from using.
Well,
it
if
to
they've got
park their
a
car.
driveway, they should be able to park in it, I agree with that. But I don't think we should be paving more pads in front of the house so we can park in front of the house.
Maybe we could make it contingent upon, if your property is big enough to have 2 curb cuts, then you could have the pad. I don't know.
I think the other issue is, you had brought
Maybe.
something up, maybe if you have that many vehicles, you should move into a bigger house. I don't think that's really a fair statement to make. I mean, a lot of residents now
No,
are
people,
strapped.
we can't tell people that they should buy a bigger
Home
house.
increases
No,
price
but-
so much that people are probably barely staying where they're at.
Yeah.
Well, the issue, though, with that is that it's about the size and scale. So like in the size and scale of the smaller homes, in the residential neighborhoods, the intent is for it to be residential. It's not necessarily to be the storage of multiple vehicles, and for that reason, we don't allow the storage of RVs in the front of the house. They can be parked on the site, but when a person has an RV and a boat and something else, at some point, they need to look somewhere else for that storage.
Yeah, they gotta find a storage lot.
So it's a similar, to me, it's just the vehicle count, whether it's that or whether it's personal transportation vehicles, it's kind of the same. Because we require them the person with a boat, to go move it somewhere else,
But if you've got 5 people living in the house,
right?
they're all of age to be able to drive, and they all have their own car,
Yep,
you know, that's a problem for them.
it is, it's tough.
And with what we're doing, I think we're just restricting the residents, because I think if it's done properly, it doesn't look bad.
I was just
Do you
trying
have
to,
something
He's
else?
got a picture right
that was just my old house, and I was just showing you.
Oh, okay.
Where,
Yeah.
you know, you're giving,
You have an additional
residents-
7 to 10 feet, but it doesn't look like a
You're
driveway.
making the driveway a little bit wider.
yeah, you're basically taking the sidewalk, so giving,
take-
Over to the edge of the
You're
porch.
pretty much taking that 3-foot ribbon of grass that used to be in
That's
between the
right.
sidewalk and,
that's right.
and the service walk and the driveway and
Yeah.
concrete it.
Well,
Well,
it's
these
a different
days,
look, for
It's,
sure.
it's a different world. I mean, everybody's got a car, you know,
Yeah,
and, that's not a bad look. I mean,
And not everyone's gonna
I've-
do it. It's not as
That's
though-
nicer than some of them. There's
Yeah.
one down the street from me that didn't pave it, he blacktopped.
Mhm.
The whole front yard is blacktop. Not a speck of
Jeez.
grass in the front of the house, not a speck.
yeah.
You know, but those are the people that are doing it without a permit.
That's right.
But he's on a lot that's like, whatever the minimum is what, 42? I
40,
think?
yeah.
He's on one of those lots.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look super horrendous. I mean, it's not like he's got a big, long ranch and it's all blacktop. He's got a little tiny house. I bet it's probably only 2-bedroom, and it's pretty old. I imagine it,
Is it possible we can come up, like if you put a pad in front of your porch, it can't be the width of your entire porch?
Or their house, or it can only
That's
go,
Only go within a certain, like, the width of a vehicle, I mean.
well, I think before we had, Mr. Mario brought something to us about a 12-foot wide driveway from the front of the house to the curb cut, or to the sidewalk. Didn't you propose that, like the homes only have 12 feet?
but that wouldn't be enough to park 2 cars
No, but if we
sideways.
gave them an additional 10 feet, it would.
For two
So-
cars?
Yeah, you have 22 feet. I have a 17-foot wide driveway, and I can fit 2 full-size trucks in it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know if we could limit the footage to give people the option, so they're not going in excess of half their house or past their porch, depending how big their porch is.
I would say it shouldn't be any bigger than your porch.
The only problem is that some people do have like larger porches, like, you know, about
Because you have-
half the
Oh, yeah,
house or
some
something.
My porch goes across. the
Wrap around a porch.
And some people have the front door in the middle of the house. and
Yeah.
doors-
That's the thing, they have the door in the middle of the house, and then you have a porch, which is just a raised platform, but it's 9 inches. It goes, I was looking at some of those today. They go from one end of the house to the other, and then 2 bedrooms on the side, so it's,
Yeah.
Is it standard 9 feet, maybe?
It's-
Going by the porch dimensions,
Maybe.
I just increased my porch size from 3 foot by 5 foot to 6 foot by 14.
right.
And if I were to pave everything in front of that, my front yard would be about the size of a sheet of paper,
Yeah.
the grass part.
So basically, it's
So-
just gonna be a case by case.
Because I have a 60-foot or
You know.
56.
I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know how you.
So
put
that
a
would,
cap on
that
it.
would look like
Right.
that.
yeah.
Do we have a cap or percentage that a concrete can be in a house, in a lot?
Well, we don't, but some communities do. We have a lot coverage requirement only for structures. One option is to go into and delve into lot coverage requirements and include all hard surfaces. It's not unheard of, but then it would have to, you know, you'd have to,
But then you have
Calculate it.
issues where you have a garage that's set back behind the house,
right,
and then they have
The
a lot more
length.
coverage
right.
in the back.
Right. And this ordinance right now would allow, and actually the ordinance is being modified so that people aren't going to be required to pave in the rear yards to store their vehicles, because it's in the rear yard. The front has to be paved with concrete, but the rear yards aren't required to be paved for their parking if they so choose, but,
I wonder if the answer here is contingent upon what you said. We don't allow it in anywhere in the city to put the pad in front of the house for a turnaround, except on major trunk lines.
Yeah.
Ford, Middle Belt, Merriman, Cherry Hill. And then we would allow that pad for safety reasons, so that they don't have to back onto a major
Well, we
trunk
have,
line.
we have a turnaround pad on those streets, don't we?
No, that's the thing, issue is that right now, it's not allowed. It's added, so this new language, so just to, I'll read it for you. This is proposed previously, and it hasn't changed since the last time you saw it. Residences on principal arterials. Single-family residences located on Warren Road, Ford Road, Cherry Hill Road, Inkster Road, Middlebelt, Merriman, and Vinoy may be allowed one 10-foot by 15-foot T turnaround stub located perpendicular to a permitted driveway. The T turnaround shall be for the express purpose of allowing vehicles leaving the property to turn around and exit in a forward direction. The T turnaround may be located in front of the residential portion of the principal structure and shall comply with the pavement requirement of this section. So that's how it read last time you had it. Before, there was a language there that said they could not park in it, but that's been deleted.
Okay, now that says perpendicular to the driveway. Does it say how close it can be to the house or the street?
No,
So they
Didn't
could put
get
it right
into
in front
that.
of the front porch if they wanted.
in theory, yeah.
That's not a good
Which,
look.
So it'd be the same pad that we're talking about now, pretty much.
Yeah, only
what we're doing, I think,
you
would
have to
be
live on the main street to get it.
allowing that margin of safety so somebody doesn't have to back out onto Cherry Hill or Middlebelt or Merriman.
But that's a whole other issue.
Exactly.
It is, because
You know,
I think in the regular R1, I don't want to see. You don't need a turnaround pad on Box Street,
No.
or Shotka, or
Right.
Florence,
No.
or any of these, even Henry Ruff. You don't need a turnaround pad. It's just that,
Maybe the simplest thing would be to just allow a wider driveway.
Well, right now, the ordinance, and as proposed, the ordinance does say, for residences with attached garages, lots with attached garages shall be permitted one driveway located between the attached garage, the closest side lot line, and the front lot line. Lots with attached garages may also be permitted to have a circular driveway. So it's all depending on the distance from we don't regulate the distance or the width of that driveway. So people that have their attached garage and then 10, 20, even 30 feet of width to their side lot line, in theory, they could pave all that right now. And that's the current language. That's the current language of the current zoning ordinance.
Okay, so that's just for people with attached garages, so what about people without attached garages?
But yeah, that's where we're restricting them.
Yeah,
So, let's see, lots with no garage or a detached garage shall be permitted one driveway that is not located between the principal structure and the front lot, that is not located between the principal structure and the front lot line. Lots with no garage or a detached garage may also be permitted to have one circular drive.
well, maybe if we took out that language that said it can't be in front of the principal structure, and then, does it also tell them how wide it can be, the maximum?
No?
Maybe we could
So,
agree on a maximum width.
yeah,
Well, we do have a,
establish a maximum width of 20 feet or something like that, and,
With houses with detached garages.
yeah, and that would be enough to park two cars side by side.
That's what this one was, the photo you looked at was about 20 feet.
But it would have to be
Yeah.
allowed in front of the principal structure.
Yeah, well, you'd have to take out that language that prohibits that.
So maybe it could be both, no more than 20 feet and cannot block more than 20% of the principal structure or something.
Only 36-foot range, let's see what 12% is.
Yeah, that's what it's,
7, 8
yeah.
feet.
You should be able to pull it off, unless you've got one of those driveways that go right to the end of your property, and your house is right on it. But you have to draw the line somewhere, right?
Yeah, no, I agree, like, if we give a maximum distance, I think we could.
so my house is 40, and 20% would be 8 foot in
8
front.
foot.
Yeah, that'd be,
That would probably, if your porch was on the right-hand side of your house, that would probably be to where the steps are, the edge of the
Yeah,
steps.
normally the porch is gonna be on the driveway side,
Correct.
yep.
so it would come over to the front door probably, in most cases.
Hmm?
If we have to change it, I think that would be maybe the most acceptable
Well,
way.
yeah, it seems like right now, we're creating a hardship for people without a garage or without an attached garage. Everybody else gets a little more break. So if we did those two things, maybe for those people, say a maximum of 20 feet and covering no more than 20%.
20%
I
of the
think the
principal structure.
20%
You could
would
say a
be,
maximum of 20 feet from the dwelling to the sidewalk and no more than 10 feet in front of the dwelling, wide. You understand what I'm saying? So you're putting a limit
Oh,
on
yeah.
how much you can
Yeah,
have
you
in front of
can-
the dwelling.
I would
We
put
could do
the,
that.
I would put it at a percentage in case, I mean, taking the example of the house down the street from me, this house looks like it's maybe 25 feet wide. If you allow 20 feet, then you've essentially paved the whole front yard, which is
Well,
exactly.
no,
what-
you've already got, you've got the driveway beside the house, which is gonna be 10 feet, so if you give them another 10 feet.
It would only be 10 feet.
They'd still
along.
be half the lot.
Yeah,
Not
that
on a
would, in that
60-foot
case, it would
lot.
be almost half the front yard.
Yeah, it'd be half the front yard.
Saying it the way you mention it, a maximum of 20 feet and no more than 20% covering the frontage of the length of the house.
Which may be
So a
less than 20
house
feet.
of
Yep.
40 feet, you could go over 8 feet, which would be about in line with the porch,
That's right, that's right.
most porches. Not
So-
every single example in the city, but most.
So on 40-foot wide lots, we still require a 12-foot setback. So that means they usually have 3 on one side and 9 on the other. So there's a 9-foot driveway typically on one side of the house. And then if we allow 20%, so that means if they're in compliance with the setbacks, on a 40-foot wide lot, the house is 28 feet wide. So 20% of that 28 feet is 5.5 feet. So they'd have a 9-foot driveway on one side and then an extra 5.5 feet. So,
Probably wouldn't be worth it.
right,
So
Well,
really,
in
it's-
that particular layout, they wouldn't do
It
it.
wouldn't do it anyway.
right,
No, that wouldn't be worth it.
Because on a
One
40
shoe isn't gonna fit everywhere.
right,
on
yeah,
a
exactly,
40-foot lots, generally, the front door's in the center of the house.
yeah,
So it's
Yeah.
not off to the side like on the 60-foot
Yeah.
lots.
yeah.
I think what we're trying to address is people not paving their front yard.
That's right.
Right,
Yeah,
So,
we-
Without being too, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
without being too restrictive.
right,
and I
yep,
think the way you phrased it with that 20%, I think
Do we
that,
need to make it 20 feet wide, or can we cut it down a little bit to 18 or something?
18,
well, I think the normal driveway slabs are 10 by 10,
Not
and
yet,
a
9
normal
and a half.
flag for a sidewalk is 5 by 5. Isn't that accurate?
That is accurate.
Yeah. So if it's a single lane driveway, it's gonna be 10 foot wide as a general
So-
rule.
So really, you gotta look at it like if you got a 5-foot sidewalk going from your front porch to the sidewalk, we're just gonna be allowing them to put in the additional 5 feet that they had between their driveway and their sidewalk.
Yeah. But no more than 20%. So if that sidewalk is in the middle of the house, no, you don't get to pave half of your front yard plus 5 more feet.
That's right.
Because we know that there's properties in the city, in every city, where that approach to the porch is right smack dab up the middle of the property.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
There's exceptions everywhere, absolutely.
So I think that 20% is the key part of this.
So 10 feet or
20
20%,
20
whatever's the
feet
maximum.
or a maximum of 20%
less.
the width of the house.
That's right.
And if the house happens to face sideways, as they do on some small lots, then, you know, you just don't pave
Won't
your
be any
front yard.
benefit, right.
Yeah, that's all. We're trying to give them flexibility without paving any more of the front yard than possible.
Right.
Because we'd sooner see grass than concrete everywhere.
mm-hmm.
Great.
So then driveways may be up to 20 feet in width and shall cover no more than 20% of the width of the house.
10 feet or 20%, I think is what we're going for.
The front,
Whatever is greater, 10
the
feet
front,
or
10 feet, whichever is greater.
Total width.
maybe we should phrase that the front face of the house. Because some houses don't face the street, they actually face the driveway. I haven't seen too many of those here, but I've seen them in other
Doesn't a
cities.
house have, isn't a house supposed to have a front door facing the street?
They are, they're supposed to. In some configurations on corner lots, you're seeing some houses, I just saw one today, that they're trying to put on one corner, not have it, they're trying to put it in the middle of the house, on the corner side, and so it'd be garage, curtain, what do they call it? Just a door wall, and then living space on the other side.
The one I'm thinking of is not on a corner.
Mm.
And it's-
But they are required to have a front door in terms of residential design standards, yes.
Well, this is a brand-new one. It's not even finished yet, I don't think.
The one on Henry Roof.
No, it's on John Hawk.
Oh, mm-hmm.
The giant one.
Yeah, next to the giant one. Mhm.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah. So that's it. Actually, they are required to have 2 doors, but I guess technically it doesn't say the front of the house.
Doesn't have to be on the front, on the street side?
Front elevation, no. That's, in that particular case, that house is supposed to have additional architectural features in the gable, and the windows are supposed to be, I think they're supposed to be double hung, trying to make it more residential in style. Compared to the other houses like across the street.
It looks like a bunkhouse for the house next to it.
What's this cross street there?
It's just west of Middleville.
Yeah. The driveways may be up to 20 feet in width. A driveway shall cover no more than 20% of the width of the front of the house, or 10 feet, whichever is less.
Where'd that
Was that it?
come from?
I thought we just said 10
Well,
feet?
no, we
It's
said that,
10 feet or 20%. If you
you
get,
know, the total width of the
can't go over
driveway
10 feet.
is maximum 20 feet.
Right, the total width of the driveway is 20 feet, yeah,
Driveway cannot exceed 20 feet no matter what.
right.
Do we-
Driveways may be
do we
up
need-
to 20 feet in width.
Do we need that extra 10-foot thing?
No, I mean, I thought I just heard that mentioned.
I think we gotta put that in front of the dwelling, don't we, so we'll be able to park on it? We'll have to have something saying that you can have a certain amount in front of the dwelling. Because right now we have an ordinance that says you can't park in front of your dwelling.
Well, yeah, we've got to do away with that.
Right.
But if the driveway, the total width of the driveway is 20 feet,
If you've already got a 20-foot driveway, then you can't put 20% more in front of your house.
Right.
20%,
Yeah,
20 foot is 20 foot, that's it. If you want a parking lot, you need to buy commercial space.
right.
So do 20-foot max on the driveway, up to, and it can include 20% of the front face of the house. So if you had a 10-foot driveway, you can use 8 more feet if you got a 40-foot house, and you can have an 18-foot wide driveway.
You got it.
If you've got a house that's 25 feet wide, then you're not gonna use very much of it.
Right.
So then driveways shall not exceed 20 feet in width.
Yeah.
A driveway shall cover no more than 20% of the width of the front of the house.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, that's,
And then go through and eliminate the restrictions about allowing for parking in front of the house.
Front of the house, right.
and that 20-foot width would only be from the front of the house to the sidewalk. Can't be in the backyard.
That's length.
My driveway in
The
my
width-
backyard's over 20 feet wide. You got a 24-foot garage.
Well, yeah, no, 20 feet of the width of the front of the house.
Yeah.
So in the front yard.
your garage is 24, your driveway is 24?
At my house?
Yeah.
Yeah, my driveway's as wide as my garage.
Hmm.
In the back of the house.
Oh,
on the
well,
side, coming in
whatever
front.
happens past the front face of the
Correct.
house is a different story, correct?
I'm sorry, what was that one?
Whatever happens past, beyond the front, to the rear of the front face of the house is a
Correct.
different thing.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it can
Yeah.
spread out like that, and most of
Flare
them
out,
do.
yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and that is the key, like in the front yard.
26-foot wide garage, we don't want to see a 26-foot wide sidewalk all the way to this, or
Right.
driveway
Really?
all the way to the street.
The only suggestion I might make, Mario, is in how we phrase it, so that it isn't misconstrued that you can have 20 feet. So it's something like 20 feet, but in no case shall exceed more than 20% of the front of the structure.
That's kind of why I was saying, no, it couldn't be no more than 10 feet in front of the dwelling.
Well, that's where I heard the 10-foot from.
It's not 10 feet in
Well,
front of the
yeah.
A
dwelling.
lot of them won't be 10
If
feet.
you have
It'll-
a 25-foot wide house, you get 5 feet.
That's
If
right.
you have a 40-foot
You
wide
can't have
house, you
10
get
feet.
8 feet.
Right.
You have a 60-foot wide house, then you would get about 12
Right.
feet.
That's right.
But we don't want to put 10 there. We want
No,
to
we
stick
just
to a
want-
percentage.
If we have the maximum of 20 total, and 20% of it can be in front of the house,
Yeah.
I think that
If we use the
covers it.
percentage, then we keep some balance there. If we start sticking a footage, then we got houses, I mean, I've got several on my street. I bet they're no more than 25 feet wide.
Yeah,
They've
probably.
been there since the
There's
30s.
a lot of
Yeah,
houses that size.
Mhm.
And does that slab come all the way to the sidewalk?
Yeah.
So let me ask you then, when it's inspected, like you haven't, like, will the building department come out and look before they start doing anything? Because
Yes.
don't they have to locate the stop box?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah, we're talking now just between the sidewalk and the front of the house, right?
Right.
right.
But on
Right.
some of them, the stop boxes are in the middle of the driveway anyway.
Mine's right by my driveway.
Some of them are in the city sidewalk.
Yeah.
They can,
I'm just making sure there's
Yeah.
that it's always inspected, I'm sure.
it is, yeah, the forms are already inspected for that, and for that purpose, so if they are going to pave over the stop box, there's a certain piece of equipment that allows for that.
To pave over?
Well, not to pave over it, but to protect it, around it, so that they can still access it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
so
We
after
good-
all that, what
We
is,
good with that now?
All right,
Are we done with
Now we can park.
all right. So this one, yeah,
So this will give a lot of people parking for one more
Yeah.
car.
I like that.
yep. So the rest of the standards, we're just trying also modifications to address the issues you brought up. So in addition to that one, that's the parking standard, but then we had discussions about shipping containers. So the shipping containers, the language has been modified to allow them in the M1 industrial district. Then a section has been revised, took the opportunity to revise the collection box standards, because they're part of the accessory structure standards, putting a 1,000-foot setback between lots that have collection boxes. A lot of communities have them, or they're just one right after the other on a particular lot. So,
Yeah.
could we suspend the rest of it until we get copies of the paperwork? 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't have, you guys
Most
got
of
it
us-
because you're
Yeah.
special. You happen
Yeah,
to come to
there's-
City Hall. I waited till they delivered it to me, and I didn't
Yeah.
get any of
Well,
that.
that's what you get for waiting, you know?
Don't feel that special, because I picked mine up too, I was here.
I usually,
I didn't get it.
I usually take part in the creative process of making it, and I don't have it either, so don't feel too bad.
Maybe we could vote on what we just talked about and do that one, and wait
Or-
until we got paperwork
You-
for the rest of them.
Or would you prefer to just table the rest of this conversation until
Yeah,
we all get a
yeah,
little paperwork?
that might be the best one.
Yeah.
So did you, just out of information, then curious, did you get the other proposed changes, the C2 changes for
I got
gas
two copies
stations?
if Someone needs one.
Yeah, I
A
got,
bunch of stuff on gas
I got this one.
Yeah, that one. So if you want, we can talk about that one.
Copies of that one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's what
One in color, one in black and white.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
me too.
I just got black and white.
So this was, once again, an opportunity to just talk about a couple issues, mainly dealing with some, on the one side, we do always get a lot of inquiries about gas stations and car washes, about where they can go. There just seems to be a demand for that. Have you noticed, for example, over in Canton, there's like, I think I reviewed, and there's supposed to be like 5 new car washes in Canton. And there's just a big demand for them. And on the other hand, there are lots that are potentially long-standing vacancies that in theory might work, but they don't have the right zoning. They're not zoned, because right now, car washes and gas stations are allowed in the C3 district only. So the idea was to have the conversation about what if we took the approach that we've taken similarly to repair garages. So auto repair garages, as we know, we have a lot of them in the city, and some of them have been here for a very long time, but they're on lots that are very small in scale. And so the issue with those is that they tend to get very crowded with vehicles. They start parking vehicles in the right-of-way, and it becomes an issue for the long-standing ones. So in the past, the zoning ordinance was modified to then require a minimum lot size for those uses, and especially for, I guess not so much car repair, but also used cars, used car districts, used car sales lots. That's what we get a lot of as well. And we do have a lot of used car sale, well, we don't have as many now because we changed the standards to have a minimum required lot front acreage of 2 acres for used car lots. And that's dealt with a lot of the issues from the legacy used car lots. So that way, if they're existing, they're legally non-conforming, they can continue, they can be bought and sold and maintained. But they have been slowly, well, they really haven't been gone, but we haven't seen any new ones. But we do get a lot of requests for used car lots, and we just direct them to the C3 district. But in an attempt to look at opportunities for other uses, wanted to take that approach for car washes and gas stations. So the idea would be, before you, some of the language initially is just cleaning up some of the language and changing some of them to reflect current trends and also potentially in the future. So basically just modifying the language for the definition of automobile filling station to change it to automobile fueling station. So say it's whether it's gasoline, electricity, hydrogen, or whatever fuel that's going to power, cars and trucks, that would be required. That would fall under the automobile filling station definition. And then when it comes to the standards for these, changing the minimum lot size from 20,000 square feet to 1 3/4 acres. The idea being to have this in tandem with allowing them as special uses in a C2 district. So that could potentially allow for some car washes or gas stations in the C2 district when there's enough acreage. So that would be the opportunity. That way we could say that we're not restricting them by raising the lot size, we're actually allowing them in another district. So that was one of the
I'm not really in
approach.
favor of letting them in the C2. I think if we have a lot that we think would be appropriate for a car wash or a gas station, we could consider rezoning it to C3. And I think minimum lot size is a good idea for both of them. But to generally say that they're an allowed use in a C2, I don't like that idea.
Well, yeah, that's why the idea would be to allow them as special uses, and then
Well,
actually the,
Even special use would, I wouldn't be in favor of that either.
well, then when you look at the land that's currently Zone C2, there are very few spaces where it could allow that, but there would be some vacant property that's available. So one of them would be the vacant Bank of America that's actually across the street. That site's about 1.8 acres. So that would be the possibility.
If
And then
if it's something that the owner wants to do, then I think we could consider rezoning it. But
So then the only issue with the rezonings would be that right now, it couldn't turn into spot zoning because the C3, there's no C3 on Middlebelt. The C3 is restricted to Ford Road from Harrison out to Inkster, and then on Ford Road, generally starting at Merriman, going westward to Vinoy.
we don't have a C3 for the gas stations on Middlebelt?
No, they're not.
What's that?
Well, the one down at Cherry Hill and Middlebelt, that one is. The mobile one up here, that one is not. That one is a legacy, legally non-conforming
Well, it's
use.
non-conforming, but
Yeah.
what about the Kroger gas station at Warren in Middlebelt?
That is a node of C3, yes. So that's a C3 because across the street, the 7-Eleven's a C3 too. So yeah, there is a C3 node on Warren. And then there's also one on Warren and Vinoy where the BP is and that other, that's shopping mall. And the doctor's office is going in there. That's a node of C3.
Donut shop and the
Yeah.
gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are C3 nodes.
Those particular businesses, I mean, we've got 5 car washes in town now. I don't really see a need for any more, but,
Right.
and
Yeah, the only idea with that was the idea of possibly having some of the more modern ones, but only allowing them on sites that could accommodate, like, the circulation patterns, the stacking distances that are needed for them. Because you're right, the new car washes, they do have, like, heavy stacking requirements.
Yeah.
Because they want them, because the cars go through pretty quickly, and they're automated, and with their season passes and everything, so.
The B of A site would lend itself very well to that because of the depth of it.
Mhm.
yeah, it's a big piece of property.
It's got good depth too, because the back of it's just greenery and a pond, a recessed area.
The other C2 properties in the city that would be, that potentially, but could not fit, there's a node of C2 on Ford from Garden, so just east of the Chase Bank over to the Speedway. Those are C2, but they're not deep enough. There's no way those could be 1.75 acres. On the west side, on Ford Road, beginning at Brant, going over to Henry Ruff, those are C2, but none of them are up to 1.75 acres. That's one of the reasons we chose that dimension, because none of them could be converted to that. You have the multi-story on the side, and yeah, none of them could. And then C2 continues on Ford Road, beginning at Henry Ruff, but those don't go deep at all. There's no way they can be 1.75.
So even the Speedway's non-conforming?
The Speedway is C3, and right now, it's C3, so it would conform with the current standards.
Have you gotten?
It's got a lot of length, it doesn't have any depth.
Yeah.
That
Right.
want to come in to Garden City, like that quick pass with?
Yeah, we had several, and they just haven't found any particular sites that could work for them. And it's about addressing that, and it's also about trying to address some of the long-term vacancies. But it was a thought from community development, thinking ways to do that. And if there are changes that we wanted to see to this, we could modify them, have more restrictions on them. But yeah.
Can I just ask a zoning question?
Yeah.
So if we had an applicant who expressed interest in a C2, the only way to allow that would be to rezone? We couldn't approve a zoning variance for a special land use?
No, yeah, right now, it's only permitted in the C3 district.
I was saying that the
And-
zoning board is not empowered to make approve a variance.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, and technically, there is a provision
They
to,
also could apply for a conditional rezoning.
yeah. Then the only issue that there is the whole spot zoning issue, if we're concerned about that.
What, can I ask?
But if we
Why
have
is that gonna be a problem for us?
spot zoning,
Yeah. In that one specific spot.
right, yeah, that's, I mean,
We've got a few other C3s on Middle Belt.
well, actually, we don't, the only C3s we have is the mobile at the northwest corner of Cherry Hill and Middle Belt, and then the car repair just to the north of it. Those 3 lots are C3.
North,
Wendy's is
And the
C3.
Kroger gas station.
Kroger gas station, well, that is that's a bigger node, I would say, because actually it's C3 right there, and it goes all the way down Middle Belt to Bridge.
Yeah, so,
what is the Ford Road Hubbard, the former Stu Evans zoned at?
Oh, the Metropolitan?
Yeah.
That's C3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because if they were to split their property and sell off that big wide parking lot to the west of the building, that could accommodate a modern car wash.
Right? Yep.
What about if we made it conditional rezoning based upon the acreage and C2? In other words, you know, they're not gonna be able to put it on some of these postage stamp size lots for obvious reasons. But we have a few other deep lots that aren't zoned C3 that could be, that could accommodate that type of a business.
yeah, I don't see why, if we find an appropriate lot, why we can't rezone it.
Do we zone it, or we just put special conditions on the lot size to allow it in C2?
Well, then if we're gonna do that, we've gotta fine tune our special conditions so we don't end up with things in places where we don't want them, you know,
Yep.
like the
So we could-
lot size.
We could also address issues to be more specific, such as lot width in the C2, that would be an issue. We could beef up the screening requirements. The idea was having 1.75 acres would be large enough to allow for both site circulation and then extensive buffering.
Would we want
But-
width or square footage? Because in the case of the former B of A, we don't have much width, but we have a lot of depth. And in the case of, if they were to split off the lot over at Metropolitan, they have a lot of length. They also have fairly good depth, too.
They've got a lot of
So-
depth too.
So you're right, maybe it's a lot, a width to depth ratio that's appropriate, so that way that you don't have like any kind of circulation along the street frontage, but it goes deep into the lot. And that would be another way to make sure that only lots that are deep enough are appropriate. And then, once again, I was saying, you know, we could add more design standards on them that would be for, like screening, to make sure that any residential are appropriately screened. Also, one other issue with regards to car washes typically too is the vacuuming equipment and the noise generated. So
Yeah.
making sure that those are sufficiently set back from residential property lines.
Yeah, because all of our C2 is adjacent to residential property.
I really think the square footage might be the way to go. If you look at the new Sonic on Newburgh and Ford Road, they don't have much depth. And one of the ways you enter their property, if you turn left on Newburgh, you go on a whole accessory road, which isn't theirs, to get to their property. The accessory road is actually for I'm not sure if it's assisted living or some type of a residential structure to the south of Ford Road, and then you can enter their property from the south end.
Well, they probably
So-
couldn't get a curb cut that close to Ford Road.
Even the one to Ford Road's a shared drive with Dairy Queen right now.
Yeah.
On the north side, that's
It's-
a shared
so-
drive with Dairy Queen.
So they don't have the depth, but they had the length, and they're using an auxiliary road to the south, and they're actually using an auxiliary road to the west. So if we were to go by square footage, and that seems to work over there, because I've used it a couple of times. I've come in from Ford once when the traffic was lighter. When it was heavier, I turned left on Newburgh and took that accessory road and entered from the south end. So I think square footage would maybe aid us better.
Okay. Well, I can take all these recommendations and go and talk to the community development director and see if we can come up with something that might address your concerns. And then maybe just look and see what, if it's even, how necessary it would be. Because like I said, we're just trying to think of out-of-the-box ideas to address some of the more long,
Market,
some of the sites and
I think screening would
properties.
be important because,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that new car wash in Dearborn Heights on Ford Road. It's just down,
Oh,
I guess the other,
yeah, it's
Ford and Gully.
yeah, around Gully, yeah.
yeah.
But
Silver
anyway,
Lane.
it's got all these, I guess they're vacuum
Yeah,
machines right up on the street.
right next to
And
the
it
sidewalk.
doesn't look very attractive at all,
Right.
Looks very,
but I suppose
Unusual.
they didn't have any room in the back, so they put them on the
they
street
had
side.
length and no
Right.
depth.
Yeah,
Right.
And they're a weird design to begin with, so
Yeah,
it
it's-
really looks odd.
it's odd looking.
I think they would have been better served just to build a 4-foot-high wall and tuck them inside the wall and have a decorative brick wall there. But, yeah,
Anything.
I know what you're, I drive past that every weekend, it's quite odd looking.
Yeah. But we can do that too,
Quite
take a look at.
colorful, too.
Take a look at other sizes, other sites in the area that are appropriately designed and see what other standards might be necessary. And also we'll take, and this is just a first attempt, you know, it's not just these uses, where we'll come back with other methods to basically, now that we've eliminated the O1 district and given those properties opportunities, we're starting to look at other ways we can modify the permitted and special uses to allow for, to address some long-standing vacancies. So,
Maybe
but this is something that definitely needs more consideration.
Maybe specifically because car washes seem to be a popular thing now. We've had the
They're popping up all over. it
building
seems.
store wars and the drugstore wars and gas station. Now it's car washes.
Yeah.
So maybe you could identify potential areas where they might fit that we could focus on and see what the collective approximate square footage or
I wonder if it.
acreage percentage is, you know, where we could pick a number, 3/4 of an acre or 20,000 square feet or,
I wonder if it becomes like the pharmacy wars, where now we have a Rite Aid and a
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we've got vacant buildings sitting around, yeah,
Because
trying to figure out what to put
saturated
in
the
them.
market
yeah.
with 50 car washes and.
well, at least
Well, and-
we did the spandrel windows. So we won't end up with those Rite Aid windows if somebody, well, when somebody comes, somebody will grab that building. That's not gonna stay empty on that.
I would hope.
Yeah, me too.
Well, not that it's a great example but it's an example of some of the innovative, well, I don't know if I'd call it innovative, but some ways that people will do it. As soon as Rite Aid had a vacancy, someone approached me to say they would like to convert that to a car wash. Because they said that it is a popular conversion, and he did provide me with modifications. And I was like, that's a central business district. No, that's not going to happen. But then, so you can see how at one end is some of the requests I get. And so trying to
Marry up.
put some things together to get more opportunities. And
Yeah.
trying to get more opportunities, but let's not get carried away.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Okay, did you want to discuss anything else in the zoning?
No, that's it.
Okay. We'll come back to that other zoning issue at a later meeting.
Yep.
Okay, moving on, commissioners' comments regarding planning and zoning matters. Diane, do you have anything?
No.
Mike?
Just is whatever, is there anything new on the horizon that
And your
may
next,
not be solid yet, but
uh,
any possibilities that
um,
have come to you?
coming to your next meeting will be a proposed revision to the Sunoco car wash. Sunoco gas station at Inkster and Ford.
Okay.
So, and the another issue with the gas stations is they make their money now on the convenience store. So they're proposing an addition. Their original proposal was for a very massive addition with no parking. Luckily, we were able to work the site, but to comply with our current standards. But it will function, but it'll be tight. So similar to the conversion of the Shell that happened, it functions, but it's not the most advantageous. I haven't seen lately how the fueling trucks get in and out of there. They had one proposed route, but anyway, they are proposing revision to that site, and then you will be seeing a proposed renovation of the Hollywood Sound property. They did receive a variance that's going to allow them to put a new building for the minor auto repair, the Hollywood Sound building, to the north side of the building, the north side of the site, and then they are proposing a multi-tenant commercial building at the frontage of Ford Road. So those will be coming to you next month. And then beyond that, with the recent approval of the metropolitan rezoning of the industrial, I haven't heard yet from the property owner how they're going to utilize that rear portion of the site for industrial, but that'd probably be the next thing coming up.
Anything, let's see, what was it? The Bar 153 or anything?
So the bar.
I don't see any activity there.
So the Bar 153, the current property owner was told they are required to redevelop the property or demolish the entire building, because if not, the city was going to once again undertake demolishing the building on our own accord, because of its an unsafe structure. The latest is that they have proposed to a renovation of the building, so they are proposing it. I haven't heard lately what the status of their plans, but they do have plans that would renovate the existing structure, but also remove some of the existing square footage in the back alley to allow for parking off of that back alley.
Do they
So
have a
20
date
feet.
certain they have to comply with?
I believe they do. They're working with the building official, because the building official is the one that told them it's a dangerous building. It either has to be demolished, or you either have X number of days to submit plans. So they are being, they have to meet those deadlines, or else the city's going to go forward with demolishing the building.
And one other thing, is what's going on with Castelli building?
I mean, the last I saw, they still had a office use inside there, in that building. I'm sorry?
They just covered up the sign.
Oh, they did? Oh, I did see that one.
Signage is gone.
I'll go swing by.
Okay, that's all, thank you.
You didn't mention anything about the future opening of the Cat Cafe.
It's true, I haven't perused the approval status, but I'm sure they're probably getting close.
Oh, okay.
Cat Cafe?
Yep.
Yeah. Don't ask me, I don't know anything about it.
So on Ford Road, in the same building with the Liberty Title, or Liberty Tax, in the downtown, right there on the corner, it used to be the video game sales. It's being converted to a Cat Cafe. So the eastern half of the building will be an actual cafe. You can get coffee and drinks, and I presume
Can you take your cat?
edibles. Well, I don't know, no, because the issue, the proposal, and there's at least one, if not two, in the state, one in Lansing, one in Ferndale. And the other half, on the west side of the building, so where the windows are, will be cats that you can walk in,
Cats as in,
and four-line felines that you can go in and play with the cat and pet the cat and enjoy your coffee and attempt to not get cat hair in your cat. And no, it's actually supposed to be very relaxing, so.
bring your own.
No, the cats will reside in the,
Really?
in the building, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All righty then.
Yep.
Frank?
Just a quick question. I know Mr. Miller has a couple of jobs right now, but out of the workshop, we had talked about McKenna helping to do some kind of art of the possible, if you will, with the Kmart property.
Yes.
Is there any timing on that?
So right now, there's a couple projects we're working on. We're working on getting a scope of work and a schedule for the housing analysis grant. So we have a grant from the state to undertake that, so we do have timelines, we have to deal with that. And we're thinking that part of that can include a visioning session that we talked about for various sites in the city, and dealing with housing as an opportunity at the vacant Kmart site might be an option. But I'm also looking into proposing a redevelopment economic plan for corridors or specific locations, including the vacant Kmart site. So it'll be part of both, or one of our, at least one of the planning efforts moving forward.
So maybe just a suggestion for our chair, should that become a formal agenda item? So that, we're having a productive conversation.
That's how we,
Right, so that
how
we
we
don't
got there in the
lose, we don't
first
lose the
place.
momentum on this topic.
That's a good idea.
I think one thing that we were going to bring forward is we have the summary, I think you saw the summary memo from the joint meeting.
Yes.
So then now it's about the next steps from that, like whether we schedule the next joint meeting for the next quarter, or also look at the list of bullet points that we need to do to address that. So yeah, that's updates we can provide.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
But yeah, we do need to keep on that.
Kelly?
Nothing.
Nothing? Jake, you have anything for us?
No.
I do have one thing, it has something to do with it, but I just will not be at the July and August meeting, so you know.
Okay.
I'll be out of town.
Thank you.
Well, Mario, did you have anything else?
Nope, nothing else.
Okay, then. Next regular planning commission meeting will be Thursday, July 11th, 2024. And we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Ayes have it.